All right, let's talk a little bit about what Marvel has been up to on Disney Plus with Moon Knight. The final episode of Moon Knight launched today as I am recording this review, and I do want to preface my conversation here with the fact that there will be some spoilers, both within the footage, which is taken from all of the trailers, but also I might get into some of the specifics within the episode and within the series. So if you haven't seen it, now would be a good time to mute for a little while or to look away, but that's your last warning. Moon Knight has been a tremendously entertaining series for me. I really like that it feels very different from the other Disney Plus Marvel shows, but a lot of the Marvel work in general. This is a character that I didn't really know too much about. He suffers from dissociative identity disorder, so he's got a split personality. He's in one capacity, he is this ruthless mercenary named Mark Spector, and in another capacity, he is this museum gift shop worker named Stephen Grant, and very disparate, different personalities that are thrust together. And what happens through the course of the series is that Stephen Grant keeps having these visions and nightmares, and this is kind of the iconic image of what Moon Knight represents to me, this kind of horrific, kind of shadowy look at what Stephen Grant is going through. He's terrified. He's looking down the corridor, and he sees this monster coming towards him, which is an Egyptian god that he doesn't know of in this particular point in the series. And Oscar Isaac just plays it beautifully. His eyes are popping out of his head, and he's absolutely terrified. He doesn't know what's going on. And that first episode was just so iconic, I think, from the Marvel stratosphere. You know, when people look back at that first episode of Moon Knight, I think that there's some work in there that is just going to be so atypical and so transcendent and so amazing to kind of celebrate again because of the way that it was filmed, because you, along with Stephen Grant, don't know what the hell is going on, and so there's all of these weird jump cuts and these freaky reflections, and we're mostly with Stephen Grant as he's starting to kind of wake up and realize that there is a lot more going on in his life. And it was such a strong episode that there was no way for the next several episodes of Moon Knight to go but down, I think, to kind of try to show off all of these different elements and aspects of this character. But that mystery was kind of being peeled back for us. And so the shock and mysterious qualities of that first episode are incredible. But what happens through the course of the show is that we see both Stephen Grant and Mark Spector kind of come to grips with their shared ownership of this body and the life that they kind of lead together. And we see, Oscar Isaac having to have conversations with himself to reconcile his reality, both as this multiple personality human being, but also as this part-time superhero. And he's a superhero that is a little bit hesitant to be one, because he's been trapped in this agreement with this Egyptian god to kind of protect the travelers of the night, and that sometimes means that he has to go and kill other people or beat the crap out of other people or metaphysical beings like we saw in the first episode of Moon Knight. He's kind of morally opposed to that, to varying degrees depending on what persona he is embodying in the moment. So this is a central heroic character that is at odds with himself and his position and his mental kind of situation all the way through. And so we're on this roller coaster of like trying to determine what exactly is going to happen with this character. And at one point in the series where it really kind of pivots and turns after we've been a few episodes in, we wake up and Oscar Isaac's character, Stephen Grant and Mark Spector, are both in an asylum, and they're being psychologically analyzed and assisted by Ethan Hawke's character, Harrow, who is the villain in the show. And it is, once again, a level up on the mind-bending kind of attributes of this program. And there are some insane cliffhangers. One of them is we end an episode and we've got this CG hippopotamus god, and everybody is as awestruck as Oscar Isaac plays in the show. And that's, honestly, I got early access to the series. I got to see the first 4 episodes, and that was the end of the 4th episode. And that was the cliffhanger that was left for me. I'm in the asylum, and this hippopotamus starts talking to Oscar Isaac, and I'm like, what the hell? Oh my God, no. And so we had to wait well, I had to wait to get caught up, and I finally watched the 5th episode last week and then the 6th episode today. And that was a long-ass wait. That is one thing that I will definitely say about this series, is that there is so much happening and so much flying at you and so much plot and nuance in storytelling that it's really difficult to chop it up across these weeks. This was definitely a show ripe to be binged, because there is a lot of minutia and a lot of really intricate detail in the performance and all of these different metaphysical creations and these interesting characters that we don't traditionally see, like a huge emphasis on Egyptian actors and Egyptian locations and trying to be as authentic to the source material as possible, and it was really, really fun. Now, the final episode, as is kind of true for most of the final episodes of these Marvel shows, escalates, and we see a massive superhero battle and some incredible visual effects. It takes its time, though. This is definitely a series where, if you're signing up to watch Moon Knight in action, you get that, but it's doled out. It's not like he's beating up bad guys all the way through. It's not like Robert Pattinson's Batman, where he was in character even when he was Bruce Wayne. He's always Batman, and so you never feel like... I remember seeing Dark Knight Rises and turning to Scott Jones, who we reviewed it together, and asking where the hell Batman was in this Batman movie. There's a little shadow of that, no pun intended, in Moon Knight. It's like, where's my Moon Knight, But the end and final reveals, they're always satisfying when the character pops up. I mean, the action around Moon Knight is incredible, but the finale with Moon Knight and, the escalation of what the character can do and who he is amazing. And I did find that the last episode had to work really hard. It had to tie up a lot of stuff. And, there's some deaths that have to kind of be worked out, and a lot of, questions to be answered. And it felt choppy. It felt like, oh my God, all right, well, we're going from here, we're going from there. It didn't feel like there was, all of the reasons why we are moving from this location to this location. Or it felt like there were a couple of placeholder props and elements that felt a little pat, like it was just a little bit too simplistic that a character would reach for that and it was there, I'm trying not to spoil too much. But it does culminate in a pretty tremendous battle sequence and then a tease for more. Of course, there's a post-credit sequence. You can't watch a Marvel thing and not kind of anticipate that. And so I absolutely came away from this show with satisfaction and excitement for how this character kind of fits into the Marvel universe. I really, really dug it, although it was kind of like this, like a really high at the beginning and some weird twists and turns, kind of plot, padding out the plot and trying to figure this out. I honestly feel like this property, it was well served because there was so much nuance and so much detail to get into with this character going through so much. But I almost feel like the cohesion of a 2-hour script might have served this property a little bit better. That's not to say that that's not where Marvel can go now. I just want them to tell us that more Moon Knight is coming, because there is a lot to be excited about in this property, including the introduction of a new hero, and I'm not spoiling anything around that, but that was crazy fun to watch, and I got chills. I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. This was some of the coolest Marvel action that I've seen. And some really interesting psychological intrigue and some cool kind of horror, spooky moments in there as well. And great performances by everybody, but especially Oscar Isaac, who by the end of the series is just reveling in his ability to transform mid-sentence, almost Christopher Reeve-like, how he would become... He would be Clark Kent and then transform his whole musculature and his voice into Superman. It's that same kind of vibe. In an interesting, different tangent with Oscar Isaac playing Stephen Grant and Mark Spector. It's a great show. Absolutely recommend it if you haven't been watching it, and would love to hear your thoughts on that finale. But I did tweet out already, and I absolutely believe this and want this to be true. Marvel, make more Moon Knight for us, please. I'm going to give Moon Knight an 8.5 out of 10.